if things do land correctly. So I guess I'm not too proud to admit that. Um, so that's kind of good to see that these little teams, it's going to be a waste of a spot. I'm not saying that these teams should be in the championship or contend for a championship because it is a waste of a spot. But the chase is a waste of the time anyway. So what's the difference? If it's something that can help the help a small budget team and dilute what is the NASCAR case or the Sprint Cup playoffs or whatever you want to call it, I'm all for it. So with that being said, this week they're racing at Watkins Glen, and remember that race will be on the USA Network as the Olympics are going to have coverage on the NBC and NBC Sports Network. So if you're going to be looking for that race this weekend, it will be on the USA Network. The other big thing that happened this week was the trade deadline in baseball, and that also did come about Monday. So Monday was a pretty big day in the world of sports, I guess you could say. And I can't remember the exact names of the trades, but the Brewers trading away Will Smith for the San Francisco Giants number one prospect. So that was kind of interesting. And Will Smith, who was a guy that was struggling a little bit in the Brewers bullpen as of late. And so kind of got away with one. But I think this might have also shaped a little bit of backlash of the Jonathan Lucroy trade. And if you haven't really kept up with that, Lucroy on, I believe it was Saturday night, was announced that he was going to be traded to the Cleveland Indians. And Cleveland was one of the teams on Jonathan Lucroy's no-trade clause. So it was kind of confusing how this all played out. Why would the Brewers deal with or announce trade with the Cleveland Indians, knowing that was on his no trade clause? Would they kind of stay away from it? So there must have been some conversation with Lucroy. Then the trade was announced. There was 4 prospects the Brewers were going to get in return for just Jonathan Lucroy. But then all of a sudden, I think it was early Sunday morning. I think it was golfing in the Goody Open, and they announced that Lucroy axed the trade. Something. Well, maybe there's a chance he'd stay. Probably still unlikely, but I was a little happy, but didn't really hear too much. It was with the family. Didn't really get to see what was the full trade. There was 4 prospects in there, so the quantity was there, maybe not the quality. I'm sure it's pretty decent. But then basically what happened on Monday, they kind of had to makeshift a deal where they probably could have got this trade with just Jonathan Lucroy. The Brewers ended up having to trade Jonathan Lucroy and Jeff Giannis to get 2 prospects, a pitching and I believe a shorts or a first baseman or infielder. I can't remember exactly what it is. Basically, the Rangers' 2nd and 3rd rated prospects. They were kind of eyeing up to get their number 1 prospect from the Rangers, but was unable to do so. And so basically, with Lucroy kind of pulling that trade out, kind of swinging the rug from under the Brewers front office for that kind of screwed them over with maybe giving more than what they wanted to in return for some young prospects. But so in a sense, I'm a little angry at Jonathan Lucroy because I gotta wonder what he was thinking that he was basically. I would assume that it would be to the point where the Brewers would go up to Lucroy and go, well, do you want to at least entertain this trade? Do you want to see what you could get? Because the Indians were shy about what they were going to use him for. They said that he might not have been used as a back catcher. He would have been used as probably a DH role. Lucroy was a little bit concerned about that because he didn't want to lower his value going into a contract year. So I guess I understand Lucroy's position a little bit, but why would you? If David Stearns came up to you and said, "Well, do you want to at least look at this trade?" You should have been like, "Hell no, man. Just put me somewhere where I'm going to play every day, play as a catcher, and get the most of my value out. Just let's keep moving on here." And I think it would have worked out for both sides. There's some either miscommunication, or I would have to almost say Lucroy might have left on a little more of a sour note that maybe people thought he would because of how that happened at the trade deadline. Albeit said and done, the Brewers, their minor league system was probably one of the weakest. And quickly, I think after this one season or a season or half a season or whatever with David Stearns as their general manager, I think they've really stepped up and and improve and strengthen their prospects going out for the future. And I think, it's still early to say with prospects. It's kind of always a we'll see type of proposition when you talk about prospects like that. But I think you can still be a little bit more about the Brewers' future, just after half a season being here. But of course, the road of growing pains and whatnot are still not over by any means. But with that being said, like I said, Lucroy's favor with Brewer fans might have been turned down a little bit, as he went out the door. But I still think that, with his kind of comments at the beginning of the year, understandably could feel that way, that he made it known basically before the season started that at the trade deadline he'd like to be traded because he doesn't want to waste a lot of his prime years not being able to contend. I can understand that, fully can understand that, but maybe it's something you should say that early in the season. Maybe you should say a little bit closer to trade deadline. I think you might have alienated a lot of the Brewers fans at that point. And I know he was still loved. He still got a standing ovation, in his pinch hit at bat Saturday night before he got traded, or for the Indians trade, I suppose. But still a standing ovation nonetheless. But still maybe not going to be the heartfelt fan favorite that he was when from 2010 to maybe up to last year. But it's been a fun ride with Lucroy. It's going to be interesting to see what the Texas Rangers do. They went out on a spending spree. They got Carlos Beltran, Jeremy Jeffress now, Jonathan Lucroy. They went out there going for it. It'll be interesting to see. It'd be kind of cool to see if Prince Fielder was still going to be healthy. It would have been basically a 2011 Brewers reunion. Maybe a little bit earlier than that. I should say maybe a little bit before Lucroy kind of came out of it. But Jeffress and Fielder were formerly teammates, and then Lucroy and Fielder were also teammates in 2000, probably more 2010. Probably more of a 2010 reunion, and I guess that wasn't a great year for the Brewers. That was a subpar year with Maka. So it's good times there, but as far as it goes now, the Brewers are obviously, they were in sell mode. The Brewers are not going to be winning many games, but that was already kind of apparent up to this point of the season. But I'm almost now a little bit more excited to watch the Brewers because you watched it before. They had Aaron Hill, and then it's like, okay, he's gone. Somebody watched it in 2 months. I thought maybe Chris Carter was one that for a while he kind of started slumping it up a bit. He lost a little bit of his mojo, but anyway, he'll be there or not. So now you know what the Brewers are kind of almost going to look like going into 2016. It's almost like a preseason for 2016, and you can see what some of these young prospects can do, and especially once you get up to spring training, September call-ups, it might even be a little bit more interesting for Brewer fans because you get to see even more of the young guys that might be on the roster in the next couple months. The final thing here on Sports Talk 920 that I want to hit on before the show concludes is talk about the Hall of Fame ceremony. And it was initially planned that the wife and I were planning to go to the long time we had planned out the Hall of Fame game. There's living here in Indiana, you don't get to see the Packers play a whole heck of a lot. We don't get to go to a lot of the games like I did back in 2000. Going to 6 of the 10 home games or 8 home games that they played that year. It wasn't on that get to see him play. But so let's go to the game. But all of a sudden realized I was actually talking to my dad's cousin when we were at the Goody O2, and he said he was going to go to the Hall of Fame ceremony. So I looked up tickets for it and found out they're relatively cheap. So if you're in the Canton, Ohio area, or if you still can, the next couple of days here, plan a trip out Saturday night to Canton, I would encourage you to do that. I think it's only right now they're going for maybe $10 to $15 to get tickets to go to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and of course, kind of the headliner this year is going to be Brett Favre, and I know if you're a long-time listener of this show, if you've listened to the show, since day one, back in late 2009, October 2009, right before the football season there. It's been a very love-hate relationship with me and Brett Favre. I was never one of those in Green Bay. If you're not a Packer fan, Brett Favre, back in the '90s, back when I was growing up. I mean, even if you were not a kid, you could have been in your 30s, your 50s, it didn't matter. You went childlike anytime Brett Favre jumped on that field, and I felt that I've always kept it a little bit more real. I think there's things that hindered him from being maybe the best quarterback of all time. I think he's maybe one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time. Of course, if you want to hear more about the divorce and what happened there between the Pack and Favre, back in 2008, 2009, we had many debates on Sports Talk 920 about it, and I still believe I was right. I think Brett Favre confirmed that I was right on a lot of these feelings that I had towards Brett Favre, that he wanted to stick Packers when the Packers kind of screwing him over. And it was a bad deal. But he was a guy that I still went outside. We said when I was a kid, still went outside playing football. If I was a quarterback, I was imitating Brett Favre, and I know almost every kid, even a Packer fan or not, would try to imitate Brett Favre to some degree. And so to see him get inducted to the Hall of Fame, of course, I know last year, if you heard, we and I went to Lambeau Field when he got inducted into the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, and it was just almost like to a normal Packer event, tailgating, stuff like that. It was a good time, and I think it also cured a little bit of the sourness that I had towards Favre, and probably brought it back a little bit, almost more to what it was beforehand, where I would criticize him but didn't totally hate him. And I think I hated him. I hated him for the Vikings. I can tell you that. I'll tell you that right now. But I would see him now with the going to the Hall of Fame. Rudy said I'd have a tear in my eye when this day happened. He was always telling me that once Favre gets in the Hall of Fame, all my ill will towards Brett Favre would go away. I didn't really think it was possible at the time. And here we are 5 years later from the day he retired the Minnesota Vikings. Me and the wife are going to Canton, Ohio on Saturday night, inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I guess a lot of that has to do with where we're located now. 5 years ago, I never thought I'd be living in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and having the opportunity to go to the Hall of Fame, to see an induction. And actually, it'll be my first time returning to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in over 20 years, or just about 20 years, almost exactly 20 years, to be honest with you. 1996 was the last time I went. And hey, before that football season, was the year before that was the Packers won this. So maybe it's for me, if I go to the Packers Fame, or the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the Packers will sit. I think when it's back in '96 summer vacation, I believe it was a month or two before the induction took place. But to see Brett Favre in, I've heard, if you've seen the locker room where they have all the memorabilia inside the Hall of Fame, they do have a Packers jersey and a Vikings jersey, and it's created a lot of rift between Packer fans again. Brings up thinking Brett Favre, did this to just one little last jab that he could to Ted Thompson. I don't know, or Packer fans. I don't know what it was, but basically, listening to the Bill Michaels show, they kind of did a little bit of investigative journalism and found out that it was actually the Hall of Fame that puts the memorabilia in the lockers, and that the reason they put the Minnesota Vikings jersey in there, which I'm sure is for a couple of reasons. One is, because Packer fans are going to go, and I still think with that Vikings jersey in there, it's not going to deter their trip to Canton, Ohio, with the Vikings jersey in there. I think you see memorabilia that's going to be in the Hall of Fame system, and all the fans, 99.9% of the fans are going to be Packer fans. it's maybe one little ditch effort to try to bring just another fan group to bring more people out to camp.